Hey, a brand new week of discovery, of examining ideas and thoughts, and then using our inner guidance to sift and sort for a greater understanding. So I was thinking that the purpose of this Dharma talk is always to affirm the benefits of meditation and why we support our meditation with the best of our thinking. And one of the great advantages of meditation, in my estimation, and everybody gets to weigh this for themselves, because someone else's concept, although interesting, there's nothing more interesting than personal experience and what actually works for you, the person listening. So one of the things I've always found interesting are the different world philosophers. If you go on Google, you could look up the 20 greatest philosophers of human history, and there's a roster of them. You might be familiar, you may not. It's not really important, other than each one of them expressed a different worldview. And they were great thinkers, you might say. They thought things through deeply. If you were to meet these people, you probably would want to run from them because of the depth of their thoughts and the torturous degree that they went inward and examined thought as far as thought could possibly go. Each one of them went either up or down rabbit holes that were seemingly endless. Golly, who could we name? We could name Voltaire and Hegel and Heidegger and Hume and Kierkegaard and Derrida, and we could just go on and on if I were to think about it. Kant. I have sort of a working knowledge to some degree of the fundamental philosophers, by no means encyclopedic. But the one thing I notice as a person who meditates and knows whatever it is that I know is that each one of them expressed radically, in many cases, radically different ways of looking at the world. I was thinking about Soren Kierkegaard, and without going into very much detail, because I don't have very much time, he's largely credited with this concept of the leap of faith. He was very much an either or thinker. After all of his study, he came to this conclusion there were just really two ways to live life. One was more the Greek way, which was the aesthetic, the ability to live life based on the senses and the sensual pleasures, and to be what the Greeks did, to use their senses to carve out and synthesize the most satisfying life based on senses. The either or was to be from Jerusalem, which meant to be one who was moral or ethical above all things. In other words, the sensual aesthetic life was sacrificed for the moral or ethical life. Why am I talking about this? Well, he said that there was no criteria that we could ever use that would help us to make this decision. We were really pushed into it. We were between Scylla and Charybdis. We were between a rock and a hard place with respect to this decision, whether we would choose the two different worlds. And there was no rational, logical, reasonable way that we could conclude one way was better than the other way. Thus, we had to take a leap of faith in order to make this decision of which world we would live in. The leap of faith, we've all heard that phrase. Where did that come from? Soren Kierkegaard. So as a meditator, I believe after listening to that and thinking about it, there is something inside of us that does give us guidance that's not necessarily reason or rationale. And of course, we might call it our sixth sense. But what happens if you don't have a sixth sense? Some people say that they have a tremendous sense of sixth sense. Some people never even have heard of it, and some people certainly never display it. But I believe we all have an internal GPS. It's like the GPS in our car, and everybody comes factory installed with it. Some people never even turn it on. Some people it turned on a little bit, but it was so drowned out by the noise of the world that you can't hear it. If you were driving in your car and you had a GPS and its volume was way down, and you had the music cranked at full volume, and you never heard it, and it continually said, turn left, turn right, turn left, turn right, make a U-turn, you're going the wrong way. And we just kept going the wrong way. We could get so far off signal that we would wander into some pretty nasty neighborhoods of confusion. Ever been there? I have. I can say that I certainly was born with an internal GPS, and based on the noise of my life and then a host of wrong turns, then the GPS got pretty well drowned out. Does it ever die? Is it ever permanently removed? No. Meditation is the way to get quiet enough that we can hear that internal signal, the consciousness, the inner light, call it whatever it is that you will, that affords us the ability to use all the experiences we've ever had, plus the insight that's available from sheer consciousness itself, to make decisions that are more skillful rather than less skillful. In so doing, we are able to get back on the signal. We get back on the beam. All modern jetliners fly on a beam, and it tells them when they're a little off and when they're right on course. When we're on course, the course corrections are much smaller. The smallest little turning of our joystick gets us back online. And when we come into moments of huge confusion, it just means there's a choice to find that inner guidance and signal that is available, but for some reason, we're not connected to it yet. And at moments like this, then the leap of faith is necessary. We have to just jump. Maybe we don't know, but we have to make the best decision we can, and then we learn. If we mess up, we learn a lot. Life is never meant to be free of messing up in these wrong turns, in these wandering down dark alleys. But every one of them, sooner or later, every leap of faith that we take, whether skillful or otherwise, will always bring us back to the beam. And there's no stronger, more powerful, more effective way of getting on the beam to develop a real, lively, strong, vital, dependable sense of sixth sense, where to go and what to do, more so than to meditate. And I would bet that you, listening, know this to be true. In quiet, there's a insight that's gained. Problems are resolved. Insights come that we hadn't thought of before. So let's keep it up all week long. We'll examine this from several different angles. Thanks for listening today. And if you have a leap of faith today, by all means, jump.